I'm going to tell you a little bit about our project, which is Capturing Our Coast, and I've got some questions for you at the end, so please don't read. So I'm coming at this from quite a few different areas. I'm actually a postdoctoral ecological researcher. I teach science communication at university, and I was previously an outdoor educator, so I've got a lot of different perspectives going into this. I want to talk about our project, which is called Capturing Our Coast. Has anyone heard of it, out of interest? Sorry. Have you heard of it? I'm just wondering if anyone has. Yeah, that was this one. So it is only UK based at the moment, but I'm more than willing to help take over the world and interested in joining me. So we've been running for a couple of years now. We're Heritage Lottery funded, and we're kind of coming into our third year of this. So we basically are a marine coastal rocky shore project. There's a lot of different universities and institutes around the UK involved. The idea being that if we get everyone around the coast involved, they've got kind of a local hub, we call them hubs, so a university or something they can go to and get expertise. If you see gaps, it's largely because there isn't rocky shore there, so it's not very supposed to be. So I'm based at SAMS, which is up on the west coast in Oban, and the reason there are gaps around that is because it's only a 4-1 person in Scotland. Okay, so I coordinate Scotland, which is a perfect geographical region coastline to be able to cover. So we've got quite a lot of different things going on in this project. We do what we call general surveys. I know that's not the most exciting name, but it's basically a kind of approach where we train people up, they go out and do things on their own, and they submit data. We also have very targeted experiments, which are kind of experiments on the seashore people can get involved with, but they're much more supported by scientists. And then we have a kind of digital and online aspect, so things like projects on Zooniverse, so people that are away from the coast can also get involved. So the main thing we do is actually this general survey, and we train people up in how to basically do what we teach people to do at A-level or higher or anything like that, which is kind of a quadrat and transect-based approach to surveying. So what we're trying to do is get baseline data on species distribution, abundance particularly, and range. And actually, I said all that, but what we really do is adult rock crawling. We take people out and give them a chance to have fun in a way they probably haven't since they're about 5. and it works really well. People are incredibly enthusiastic, so our training days have a huge uptake. We go through species ID, we talk a little bit about evolution, we take them out to the shore, and then we basically give them the kit and send them off so they can do it on their own, is the idea. Actually being given the kit is one of the most exciting part for a lot of these people, to be in a contract, which makes you a real scientist. And you get a tape measure as well to do a contract. We're nothing but high quality here with the equipment. Actually, to the extent I had someone come along to a training day, very lovely woman, very interested in science, took her stuff away, but her husband came along the next week. I was like, you're not talking? Or you're not coming together? And he said, no, I wasn't interested in the project. And she came home with a tape measure. I really wanted it. She won't let me, but I bought it in the shares. Fantastic. So, helping DIY across Britain since 2000. So what we try and do is we try and create a kind of team-based approach to this, because a lot of people don't have much knowledge of rocky shore ecology in a way that they do for maybe birds or plants, even though it's a basic understanding. And if you go down to a rocky shore, if you don't know, it's incredibly difficult to start IDing things, because some of the things are so alien to your understanding that you don't know where to start. So actually I took some people out on a training day, and we had a great afternoon on the shore, they were very excited, and someone was walking back with me and he just couldn't stop picking things up. He just just driving off. But he picked something up and went, oh look at this is great. He's like, what is it? It's a bit of an animal, right? Or a plant? Or a rock? Like, if you can't nail it to biology. Yeah, we're not at that stage yet. So it goes to show it's actually very difficult to start on this, which is why you need that kind of scientific input. You need to also go out with experts. So one of the ways we do is we get you out with experts, but then we start you off small. So everyone that takes away their equipment has what we call a species pack. So it's about 8 species, they're easy to identify, we've trained you in how to identify them, so it gives you a starting point to go out on the shore. And the idea is that if I do 8 species, and you do 8 species, and you do 8 species, they're all different, that we can start to build a map of what's happening around the coastline if we have enough people. So it's very much kind of power of the people kind of project. And it's kind of really utilising principles of citizen science. But we don't just throw people out on their own, so we do try and kind of make it a community thing. So we run what we call field support days, so at any point people can come out with me again and again and again, and I'll keep on talking about seaweeds until the cows come home. So you can start to build up your skills over time. We also run advanced trainings, people are welcome to come along to different types of training sessions. We'll do it on, we can do it on statistics if you would. Basically it's dependent on what people are interested in, and it's run by the university on a kind of individual basis. So one of our favourite things is we try and make it not just about the kind of science that they're doing, but about involvement in wider science. So we bring people into universities and we have what we call wine and science days. These are some of our most popular events, unsurprisingly. Basically, I buy loads of wine, give it away, and people come and talk about science and we'll just drink it. That's the way it works. But they are really popular, and actually we've started live streaming our talks and everything, so even if people aren't near the events, they can. You have to buy your own wine then, but you can sit and watch the talk. So if anyone's interested, all our talks are streamed and things like that, so we can keep the website for that. We try and get involved with a lot of other projects. So what we're really not about is kind of trying to reinvent the wheel. So we signpost other things. Beach cleanings in the UK, for example, we work with partners. We partner with organisations internationally in Scotland, so let's go behind the scenes and look at all their squishy stuff in jars. So we're trying to make it a kind of full-scale volunteer experience for everybody, and it means it becomes much more sociable. So part of the problem we found originally was that people feel quite isolated if you just give them a kit and send them away, so we're all about trying to make sure that's not the case and it turns into a kind of fun group activity that you want to do. So this is kind of it over the past couple of years. Actually we found that over 5,000 people register on our website, and we didn't put much energy into recruiting actually. It was a few newspaper articles and then we had to stop recruiting, so we couldn't stop people signing up. Just that people just want to rock pool, which is lovely. We've trained over 3,000 of them now. The bottleneck is basically us. There are 7 project officers around the UK and we can only take 12 to 15 people per training day, so it's quite resource heavy getting people up to this stage. But they have started to do surveys, so we've got well over 1,000 surveys done now around the coast of the UK. And we're starting to kind of pull all that data together. Putting the data together, not necessarily a very fun task because of all the different ways that people have, different species people have used and things like that, but it's starting to show some really interesting patterns. Is that a sign I should stop talking? So here's the kind of nub of why I come here today. This project is only focused on adults. They're trying to shut down immediately. That's for a whole range of reasons. We wanted to focus on adults. It was put together by scientists who really wanted quality data, and so it's easier to get quality data with adults than it is with students quite often. And because of the kind of model we were using, I just said something funny there. Because of the kind of model we're using, where people had to go out on their own potentially, we weren't able to provide the support to take out groups. But what we found is that you can't stop people getting kids involved, because once you go rock them, children want to get there. So we do have children involved, we have activities for them, but not necessarily linked to this kind of level of citizen science. So we have teachers that take their schools out if they're a volunteer, parents take their kids out, and we have no problem at all with that, but we're just not able to have that capacity to do it at the moment. And it's worked really nicely as an adult project. I think it's been quite good to have that focus so adults feel it's not just something for children, and we can very much sell it as, rock pooling for grown-ups. And actually, having the social events and our entire structure is very adult-based, all kind of line design and things like that. And it's actually worked quite well, so I've had my first CoCoast wedding last year, which was really good. They met on a training day, fell in love, and got married. So I feel like that's an unexpected success. But we're coming to the end of this project as it stands. We've got some great data from it, we've got some great networks of volunteers. But what we're kind of interested in doing now is thinking about what the next phase of this project is going to look like. Because we don't want it to be the same thing, obviously, but we want to have something that those 3,000 to 5,000 people we have that are volunteers can actually move on to and keep building and using their skills. So we're throwing around ideas at the moment. This is not an official title or name, can you tell? So what's going on there? But our current idea is to have something that's a bit more like an open air laboratory but on a rocky shore. So we're moving from the idea that you train people up and they go wherever they want, and we're going to create more of a sense of place kind of opportunity. And it's going to, where those places are, we'll be open to debate and discussion and working with the communities, but we're going to have this space. And it's going to start being, taking kind of the best bits of CoCoast and developing it. So it's going to be a place that anyone can come down and explore. So we're going to work on exploring with scientists. We're going to start using it to set up experiments, different things. And we need it as a place where we can bring people together as a community. So we want it to be about the science, but also about knowledge about coming down and doing art and using that for science. About even just going down to the beach and having a barbecue, but bring people together so you can start using that space and understanding your shore and getting connected to your local shore is the idea at the moment. So because we want to open up a lot more, we want to involve children. We want to be able to involve school groups and all these kind of things. But because it's not something we've done in the previous model, we're trying to talk now about what the best way would be to get them involved. Because we want it to have a lot of meaning. You know, there's a lot of good materials out there if you want to do rocky shore stuff as a school. If you want to get around jokes, we want to offer something a bit different or something that's going to mean something for children. So here are my questions. We're kind of looking for ideas of what this school programme should look like. Should it be that we organise to take children down to the shore? Should it be that we run professional development for teachers to be able to do that? Do we leave it open to communities to run it and we just provide the support? This is a big question I have to take back to my bosses because we're still academically based. It's very important for me that it's not just education for the children. You know, we talked a lot about citizen science being meaningful, and the fact that it's real has a huge impact on how people get involved. But how do we ensure that actually what we're getting back is usable data? Because if it's not usable data, then it just becomes an education project. So we need to find that kind of link between the two. And finally, how do we make sure it's meaningful for children? So I've listened to a lot of projects and people talking, and that perhaps it's this kind of sustained engagement that's important. You know, so being able to take a group out and then develop it over time, and actually just this kind of one-time kind of science fair style interaction isn't going to be as valuable for them as something that's over the long term. So these are my kind of questions at the moment, and what I'm going to do is throw out if you've got any insight or experience, or it's not to be from rocky shores, but it's really if you've basically done this before and have a model that we can use, then fantastic. But yeah, any answers to these questions, I'd be very grateful to him.
Can I ask a question?
You can.
You mentioned that you use adults instead of children for the actual data collection, and I wondered if anybody knew, or if you knew, is there any measurement of uncertainty for data of adults versus children? Do we have any data on that?
So, I did something yesterday with, you can see this statistic with the measurements taken by professional scientists compared to the measurements taken by students, and they were almost equal. But I can't remember which one it was, but so I think there are statistics.
You're right. I'm just wondering if it's a perception, if it's anecdotal, or whether we do have hard and fast data. Something we're thinking about on the Let's project, and we tried to get our IB students to look into it.
It's a really good point. So everything I know, because we do the similar thing, we've tested the kind of robustness of our data set, which comes from adults against professional scientists or students and things. And I think there are a lot of papers comparing that, but comparing adults with children in some projects. I don't know, and I think it's mainly anecdotal.
It depends on the system as well.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I mean, I used to work on birds, and definitely with adults it's much easier to, kids just don't have large enough hands to hold a bird properly because of the measurements.
Okay.
Well, it depends on. So in the Netherlands we have this youth organization for nature study, and you can, it's from 12 years old till 25, and then you're kicked out. So I've been part of that organization for several years, and I think, so the idea is that every weekend they go on an excursion, and depending on the theme, it could be birds, it could be plants, it could be going to the sea and do measurements. And I think that is as valuable as a measurement by adults. But those are young people that are really, really interested also in nature. And the idea is that there's always someone who's leading the excursion, and the knowledge is, how to say, it goes from this leader to the other people, and so we educate them on the way, and it's working for years. So that's my experience.
I agree. I think, Hannah, that was a lovely presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you. The question sets up a kind of dichotomy, which I'm not sure is all that helpful, between robust data and a meaningful experience for children. You know, I mean, is there not a danger that the meaningful experience and the use of art and the use of kind of experiences, the educational experiences for children, you know, will become a bit of an add-on or a kind of adjunct, where the main real serious stuff is the robust data? Is there a way of challenging some of that?
Yeah, well, I think this is the problem we're kind of having, is that we're trying not to have it for dichotomy, but like with all projects we have people that come from a very academic background, but their main interest is the process of data. People that come from more of a perhaps educational background. I think that there is a way to combine the two, and not to be this.
Because you're funded by HLF, which is,
at the moment,
you know, which again is not known for its academic kind of outcomes, is it?
No.
I mean, you've got kind of cultural elements there, which I think are really helpful.
So actually, our certainly for our current project, we don't have academic targets. The academic targets are internally driven, you know, because there are a lot of scientists involved, and we want to see the data become something useful. Otherwise, that's a lot of energy put into something that, you know, and it is possible to advance science and have a meaningful science. I think the two are very much linked, but I'm aware it's very easy to tip one way or the other and lose one aspect of it. So I'm trying to find that sweet spot. I think that a lot of people are trying to find.
Yeah.
I know no one has an answer. If they did, so they're keeping it very quiet.
Well, I think it would be nice if you, instead of letting people go out on their own to whatever location, if you work with transects, for instance, because then you would do repeated measurements on the same spot. I think something like that would be interesting. And so I'm a marine biologist from training, so I can actually, when I was in the United States for my master project, I also worked on rocky shores. So in the Netherlands we don't have many rocky shores, but I can tell you a little bit about some of the experiments we've been doing. I think there will be some that will be very interesting.
I would say, to answer your questions too, the teacher development, the professional development and teacher trainings are really important, because the ownership of the teacher then afterwards and how he or she trains in the classroom is the best way in, because if you do the training for students, the teacher doesn't have ownership and there's an end date. So I would say definitely teacher training is the first step.
Okay. Yes, I agree, because that's also in a way that as a science center we also try to train the teachers, and that's the way, it's the most sustainable way, because of course if you get pupils, you teach pupils, then of course they move on to the next level, and in 2 or 3 years they've done their education and they continue to university or something like that. So you lose them. So if you have a teacher, they will train the next generation and the next and the next.
I think also that teacher training should include kind of clear steps as to how to link it to the curriculum. I think very often, what I found in the project I'm going to talk about later, that it would become an afterthought really. Like there'd be one teacher who'd be quite interested in it, but it's like, I have to cover all that stuff first, and then we'll do that afterwards. So having steps as to what curriculum can cover with this, because that's always sort of the priority.
Yeah, and actually I think, so we've had teachers approach us to basically do this. So yeah.
Right, okay.
So obviously there's a...
You could probably use them and connect with them to prototype stuff. And
Yeah, that's kind of what we're
Yeah,
start doing.
Yeah.
Have that connection. Sorry.
What we did at CRE is to build a network of teachers, and so we had one training for a whole group of teachers so they could also meet with each other, and then we follow them. So we have one mentor per class, but the teacher is carrying out the project for the kids, but they can ask for mentoring or to accompany them through the process. And then at the end, we have different sessions throughout the year, so they can put results in common, and then they become independent and they know how to do it. And they can also train the other teachers.
So having that constant contact beyond the training.